Good. Okay, well, hello. Welcome to the August 3rd, 2023 meeting of the Greenbelt Advisory Commission. So this meeting is being held electronically, and we intend to conduct the meeting similar to an in-person meeting. However, please be patient if there are technical issues. Public comment will be via telephone only. And please note that if you are watching this meeting live online, there is a 30-second delay. To speak during any of the public comment opportunities, please call 1-877-853-5247 and enter meeting ID number 941-0420-8673. Again, that number to call is 1-877-853-5247 and enter meeting ID number 941-0420-8673. This information is also available on the published agenda in the public notices section of the city website and on the broadcast of this meeting on CTN channel 16, AT&T channel 99, and online at a2gov.org/watchctn. Please note that if you do call in for public comment, you must enter *6 to unmute yourself. Right, great. So next on our agenda is roll call, and I will start. Chairperson Riggs, I am attending from my home in Ann Arbor. Commissioner Bloomer.
I'm attending from my home in Traverse City.
Commissioner Armstrong.
I'm attending from my home in Ann Arbor.
Thank you. Commissioner Gordon.
I am also attending from my home in Ann Arbor.
And Councilperson Radina.
Here in Ann Arbor.
Okay. Commissioner Boggs. Here. Commissioner Schuler. Commissioner Laramie. Okay. Well, we do have quorum, which is excellent. Thanks, everybody, for making a summer meeting. And next on our agenda is approval of the agenda. So does someone, okay. Does someone want to make the motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Bloomer, seconded by Commissioner Armstrong. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, the agenda is approved. Next up is approval of minutes. So city staff, thank you, provided minutes from the June 1st, 2023 meeting, and those were provided as an attachment to the agenda for today. Do folks need a few minutes to review the previous meeting minutes?
No.
No.
Okay. I took some time already. Would the commissioners be ready to vote to support approval of the minutes? Okay, so all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Thank you. Okay, and then next on our agenda is public commentary. So we'll now hold public comment. Is there anyone waiting on the line to speak?
We do not have anyone waiting on the line to speak.
Okay, thank you, Juliet. All right, well, perhaps during our next public commentary, someone will have joined. We will check again. So moving on to new business. Over to you, Remy, for a number of items, starting with the staff report.
All right. Good evening, everybody. It's great to see you all. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So we'll just run through a quick staff report. Here we are, August 2023, and we have an active pipeline of council-approved projects, 2 township-led projects, 1 city-led project, and 1 legacy project led by Legacy Land Conservancy, one of the 2 regional nonprofit land conservancies operating in our service area. with a total of $360,000 in council approved funding going toward that $837,000 worth of projects that will permanently protect just over 86 acres. As that relates to our fund balance of just shy of $3 million, that leaves us with 2.6 and unrestricted. However, we do have a pipeline of potential projects that have not been gone to council yet, which represents over $1.2 million worth of potential work in the associated due diligence associated with the council approved projects. Leaves us with $1.1 million at minimum available in GAC funds. And as you know, because these projects take so long, the oversubscription of up to $1 million is acceptable for the way we run our program. So that means in theory, we have about $2.1 million available to us now, should we need it for any projects. So that's the budget overview. Any questions? Sounds good.
No.
Okay, a lot of buzz happening in the buy, protect, sell realm of our work of late. It has been an all-consuming endeavor, but I can say from an early perspective, vantage point, being there and hearing all the interest, this certainly feels like it is a long-standing goal that is becoming very evident that it's worth our time, our effort, our energy, collective minds going into this. Again, the objective is an acquisition framework to fulfill the Greenbelt's conservation objectives while providing the secondary benefit of an access pathway to farmland ownership for small farmers and farmers that are land insecure in our wider Southeast Michigan or Michigan area, but all within the Greenbelt district surrounding the city. So, as you know, the city, we purchased a farm, 54 acres in Northfield Township off of Noller Road. And we've launched our public RFP. It will be open all the way through and accepting proposals all the way through September 11th. As part of that process, we scheduled 2 open houses for the public to come and view the property, ask staff questions, tour the sites, and give some preliminary ideas, put some preliminary ideas for proposals that they may have out there so they can workshop them or ask if they are eligible proposals. So this was 2 events, one Saturday, one on Thursday. We found that all the folks that are vendors at the farmers market couldn't make the Saturday one, showed up on the Thursday one. But in total, we had over 50 people attend both open houses. So really excellent turnout. I asked everyone that I talked with, I know Rosie did as well, how did they hear about the Buy, Protect, Sell work, about the purchasing opportunity on Noller Road, about the Greenbelt, etc. It really was evident that our broad, widespread outreach and how this resonated with the media really did have an effect in garnering the most people's interest. So we had folks hear about it on the CBS TV news clip that aired. We had people who heard it on the radio, who heard it on MLive. We had a lot of people who heard it from Facebook and communities that they're parts of. And then Rosie spent a day at the Ann Arbor Farmers Market going booth to all the vendors to make sure that they were aware. All but one of them said, we're already aware and we know that this is happening. So
that is fantastic.
It's been really phenomenal. And so really happy with how this has all played out.
Chuck.
Congratulations. Well done to both of you.
So yeah, a couple more pictures of the property. And then again, yeah, the story was picked up, shared by, talked about by a lot of different outlets, people, community groups. And so those inquiries, were made evident at the open houses, but also in the inquiries that we're getting outside of the open houses and from folks that are sending messages to Rosie directly, asking questions about eligibility, about BPS, etc. So just overall, really successful launch. Couldn't have envisioned it going better, honestly. So really happy about that. You've seen this timetable before. On the buy side, we have made no progress because we did not know how all-consuming the sell side of this equation would be, but it's taking all of our energy and efforts to coordinate this. But the good news on that front is on the sell timeline, we are on track. We did develop the Noller Road RFP on time. We did launch it at the time we had hoped, and we hosted the open houses around that time. And this end of the RFP period is slated for September 11th. So we are on track and very happy about that. What that means going forward is a timetable of roughly October. Submissions, proposals will have been scored. And then by November, we will likely make a recommendation as a body to council on the selected proposal. And then staff can work for the remainder of the year and into the new year for an eventual sale. We're hoping maybe by March so that the selected buyer could get on the ground before the spring of this next growing season. The primary question, the question that staff is here to answer for those inquiring about this RFP, we are not here to give guidance on competitiveness related to the farm plans being developed or for the proposals, but we are here to make sure that everyone has a complete application and isn't wasting their time if they are not an eligible applicant. So that was the bulk of the conversation surrounding the open houses, and everyone we've talked to thus far is how to make sense of the eligibility criteria. So just quickly to review with you all again, the criteria is from a land insecurities perspective that you do not already own farmland, or you can otherwise demonstrate land insecurity, or produce less than $250,000 gross farm income per year. In terms of taxable income, non-farm income, that needs to be less than 3 times the median household income for Washtenaw County, which is $237,594. Cannot be a legal entity comprised of more than 25 full-time people or employees. You need to be able to provide evidence for that. For 2 years out of the last 10 years, you spent 20 hours or more per week working in the farming industry, whether it be your own operation or someone else's, that would qualify you as an eligible farmer. And then readiness to purchase within 1 month of entering into a sales contract after being selected as the successful proposal. Of course, you need to be willing to work with us on a closing timeline not to exceed a year from our sales contract. And then, of course, fundamental to the work we do, the selected buyer has to be willing to negotiate in good faith on the basic terms of the conservation easement, which is the fundamental of what we do. So here's the process laid out. Is we've released the RFP. It is hosted on the My Farm Link land linking page. If you're not aware of that, we've talked about it in prior meetings, but it's a very exciting platform to have available to our community, agricultural and conservation community. So the RFP is hosted there. We staff are fielding applicant questions and inquiries until the deadline, and we will be receiving them on a rolling basis. At which point, once the deadline has passed, we'll do our administrative review, evaluating proposals for completeness and address any possibility of eligibility issues. So we will request additional information from the applicants as needed to confirm eligibility and application completeness. Then we, staff, will perform the preliminary scoring of the proposals based on the criteria that we as GAC established, or that you all established. And then we will furnish the top tier of proposals for GAC's review. So GAC will then review the top tier proposals, make recommendations on the scoring that staff did. If there are any tweaks or adjustments that you feel are warranted, we will take that, we'll have that discussion as a body, and then make those adjustments as needed. And then finally, GAC would make their final recommendation for the selected proposals, because we have 2 purchasing opportunities up on Noller Road, and we would take those to City Council. So right now, the next steps are to wait for the proposals to come in and document suggested changes to the RFP, which was also part of what we gleaned from those open houses. There were folks who helped us understand how eligibility criteria could have been more clear, and offered up suggestions for eligibility criteria in the future that does not align with our current criteria, mostly around income caps and mostly around gross farm income so far. But there have been nuances posed to eligibility through this process that we knew we were going to learn from, and we will take into account as we develop future RFPs if we choose to replicate this model into the future. Any questions?
Remy, I have a question. First of all, thank you so much for the update. It's really exciting to see this all unfolding. When after September 11th, or when the RFP period closes, have you already made a plan for who is on the city review committee, or is that to be determined?
The staff will do the administrative review, and we may tap some others within the city to help us with that effort, but ultimately we'll be furnishing that top tier bundle of proposals for GAC as a body to be the review team on that top rated bundle, I think is what we settled on in a prior meeting or two worth of discussions, was that GAC will be the determining or recommending body. It won't be a subcommittee with outside external supplemented expertise at the table. For this round, for this first one, at least we're going to see if we feel comfortable with GAC making that final recommendation just as a body.
Sounds good. Thanks. Are there other questions?
All right.
And Remy, are you doing other updates, RCPP, or?
Yep,
Yeah.
I'll just keep
Okay.
rolling along.
Cool.
As you all may be aware, or for those that aren't, rather, in 2021, the city was successful in applying to a USDA Regional Conservation Partnership Program grant, call for proposals, or notice of funding opportunity. We applied for $10 million worth of RCPP funds to supplement our conservation easement acquisition work across two watersheds, the Huron and the Raisin, but all targeted within the city and partner service areas within those two watersheds. Fortunately, very fortunately, we were the third largest award in that round in 2021 and awarded $7.4 million as the city is being the lead partner leading that effort, as well as 5 or 6 other regional conservation partners who were going to tap that money for easement acquisition support. Unfortunately, since we were awarded those funds, we have been in prolonged, frustrating, somewhat demoralizing grant negotiations with NRCS up to this date. So we are 2 years from the time the funding was awarded to where we do not even have a grant agreement that allows us to deploy these funds yet on a 5-year grant timeline. RCPP is experiencing these types of delays, issues across the country, and we are no exception, but we are actively participating in a conversation with partners who have the influence and connections necessary to break the logjam, which is namely our friends at American Farmland Trust. We are leaning heavily on to help facilitate a conversation with NRCS headquarters in DC to fix this broken grant system. And so with that, it was felt like in late 2021, when we were awarded this giant amount of money to do great work, that we needed to line up several projects to spend that money down. So we hustled and we had these great 3 projects lined up to be our first round of applications to the RCPP bucket of funding. But given the delays getting that money accessible to us for this work, we actually need to pivot. We need to pivot and go back to our tried and true grant funding, which is USDA ASAP ALE. And these landowners have been patiently waiting for RCPP funds to become available so that we can begin their projects. Amazingly, none of them have dropped off. And so reading the writing on the wall with how long it will take to fix RCPP, despite there being progress on the conversational front of how to fix it and establishing those connections, we don't have guarantees that it will be fixed anytime soon. And the next deadline for ASAP is coming up in January or March of next year. So I think we need to take this batch of projects, move away from RCPP until that program is fixed, and then rely on our tried and true ASAP ALE grant asks, which, if you are not aware, we have secured many millions of dollars through ASAP ALE to support our Greenbelt conservation easement acquisition work. So that's what I am asking tonight. These projects received your recommendation to go to council to be recommended for RCPP applications. And tonight I'm asking that you recommend these projects for ASAP ALE applications in lieu of those RCPP recommendations, because RCPP is broken at the moment. So that's what the next 3 slides are. Anyone willing to make these recommendations, I would allow you to say them one at a time. But if you don't recall, this is the Fishbeck property in Salem Township, or rather, sorry, this might be Superior Township. I think Joy Road might be the line, but 63 acres with a 5-acre building envelope adjacent to 2 Greenbelt properties. And then the Hamilton Part 2 project, which is just down the road from the 375-acre Hamilton conservation easement that we just acquired last year. Largest project in our history. The family was so happy to work with us through that project, despite the frustrations with delays, etc., that they are willing to entertain enrolling their other farm just down the road in the Greenbelt as well. So that's in Salem Township on the northern border of the Greenbelt district at 5 Mile. And then St. John's Evangelical Lutheran Church has been waiting to work with us since 2018. So, you know, kudos to the exceptional patience of all these individuals and church leadership, especially given that they've been waiting since 2018. So I'm ready to move these forward with federal applications, make sure that we're still doing a great job leveraging the Greenbelt dollars by applying for these grants, but we need to tap a different resource other than RCPP at this point.
So you need a motion here, Remy?
I need a motion to recommend these motions to City Council, yes.
All right. I make a motion to recommend to City Council to apply for USDA NRCS Agricultural Conservation Easement Program ASAP funding for the Fishbeck 3 property identified in application ID 2020-01.
And I will second that motion. So do we have some discussion?
So I do have a question. I think some of these maybe were before my time, and maybe I should ask just to clarify for me. These are development rights, looks like mostly, maybe? Is that right?
All 3 of these are projects where the city's Greenbelt program is acquiring a conservation easement on these farms.
Okay.
Yeah, these will not be public preserves. So they're privately owned, privately conserved properties.
Okay.
And did you have a follow-up, Dee, or?
No, that's great. Thank you. That's
Okay.
exactly what I wanted to confirm. Thanks.
Okay. My question, Remy, is, and I might be asking you to use a crystal ball. I totally agree with your recommendation to seek ASAP AL funding for these. Any feeling as to what would happen to the RCPP award that there is still not an agreement signed for, but any understanding of what happens to those funds?
So we have an agreement signed for the grant, RCPP grant funds, that says we've been awarded and we are now officially an awardee and working with NRCS to use these funds. The sub-agreements associated to that first agreement, the most important of which is the sub-agreement detailing the use of the funds for our conservation easement acquisition work, is stuck. And it's stuck almost everywhere across the country. There are hundreds of millions of dollars of RCPP funds awarded across the country for easement work like we do and are doing and have proposed to do. And only a handful, I'm thinking 3 RCPP funded easements have actually closed in the United States. And I hear that those were incredibly difficult and pressurized. And but take that as the 0.1% of potential projects out there that are intended to be funded by this source. So there's a administrative logjam. I could go into the details. I don't want to particularly bore everybody, but we're at a bit of an impasse. But we have a meeting on Monday. We, as in the Greenbelt and several other Midwest conservation agencies that are experiencing this problem, are meeting with American Farmland Trust on Monday to prepare for a meeting with NRCS headquarters in DC the following week.
Okay. So
what that results in and what timetable solutions are put into action, knowing NRCS, it could still be a year, but we should all know that we've been awarded these funds. They're not in jeopardy. We're just experiencing a barrier to actually getting them in the ground. And then on top of that, extensions for awards are available administratively. So that's part of the discussion that we'll be having with headquarters. Is it's typically 1-year extensions, but is there an administrative ability to extend far beyond 1 year, given that we've wasted 2 or potentially 3 years by the time the funds are actually ready? That's another part of the conversation.
Okay, that's really helpful.
Yep.
Thanks.
But for now, and maybe even the next round of ASAP coming up, available every January or March, depending on when they make their award or when they make their funding announcement, we may need to lean again, as we have for 10, 15 years, on ASAP as our reliable grant source instead of using this new bucket of funding through RCPP.
Understood.
Okay.
Are there other questions, other discussion? Or if not, we can vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, and that motion passes. Great.
Here's the next one.
And then this is the next one. Would anyone like to make this motion that's on the screen?
I'll do it. I make a motion to recommend to City Council to apply for USDA NRCS Agriculture Conservation Easement Program funding for the St. John's property identified in application ID 2018-15.
Is there a second? Support?
I'll second.
Okay, so motion by Commissioner Bloomer, support by Commissioner Armstrong. Are there any questions or discussion on this motion? Taverny. Okay. So if we're ready for a vote, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Say nay. Okay, thank you. This one passes. And then we've got a third one. And I can make this motion. I'd like to make a motion to recommend to City Council to apply for USDA and NRCS Agriculture Conservation Easement Program funding for the Hamilton 2 property identified in application ID 2021-02. Can I get a second?
Seconded.
Okay, Commissioner Gordon seconded. Any discussion? Any questions? Okay, all right. So all in favor of this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed, nay. All right, so the third motion also passes. Okay, Remy, anything else for us?
That's it. Thank you very much. I'm
Good to
sorry
see
to
you, Remy.
be the bearer of bad news on the RCPP front, but I truly want to highlight that we're not passively allowing this to be a dysfunctional grant program. We're committed to it being functional. It is an amazing idea in concept. We've been so fortunate to secure so much RCPP monies since 2018 and lead the community in the direction of using that incredible resource. So we're really proud of it, and we're invested in it being fixed. So we're taking as much of an active role in fixing it and being a partner to NRCS to fix it in a positive way, because we have really relied on their funding and have appreciated their partnership ever since the Greenbelt's inception. We have leveraged so much NRCS money to get the Greenbelt vision on the map, and so yeah, we're taking an active role.
Yeah, of course, we've heard you talk about this program for a few years now, and I think you have an RCPP face, when you start talking about it. Well, yeah, please, of course, keep us posted on how things are going with the American Farmland Trust led coalition, and if that breaks any of the log jams. And I imagine the city is using the tools at its disposal and keeping state and federal elected officials attuned to it as well. Okay. Cool. All right. So next agenda items is what we have on our agenda. Let's see. Do we have any? So for our next meeting, presumably we're going to be meeting in September.
I actually do believe we will be canceling the September meeting and just focused on accepting the proposals and scoring the proposals coming in for the Buy Protect Sell RFP, and then we would convene in October to look at the preliminary scores for those.
Okay.
Good.
Sounds great. Okay. Well, no commissioners will want to miss that conversation, if we can help it. Okay, so great. So next we're going to do a roll call to move into closed session. And just as a reminder, you did receive a separate email with that login information. And to do that, we are going to need to, we need someone to move to go into closed session. So can I have that, please?
I'd like to move that we go into closed session.
Okay, thanks. Commissioner Armstrong?
Seconded.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Gordon seconded. Okay, so I'll go through roll call and please answer yes to move into closed session. Okay, so Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner Bloomer,
Yes.
Commissioner Armstrong,
Yes.
and Councilperson Redina.
Yes.
Great, and I say yes as well. Okay, see you there.
All right.
motions this time. The next item on the
Oh, need
agenda.
a roll call to go
Oh,
back in open
I'm
session.
sorry. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's do roll call. So just say yes to re-enter open session. Commissioner Radina?
Yes.
Great. Commissioner Gordon?
Yes.
Commissioner Bloomer?
Yes.
Commissioner Armstrong?
Yes.
And Commissioner Riggs, yes. Okay, great. Almost done here today. Communication is next on the agenda. Are there any reports from commission members or reports from managers? I'm not aware of any. Okay. And then if there are none, then we can adjourn. That is our last item. Does someone want to make a motion?
I move that we,
move. So, go ahead.
So I think I got Commissioner Gordon on that motion, and then is it Commissioner Armstrong for a second to support?
Yes.
Great. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the motion carries, and we are adjourned.
see y'all in
Thank you,
September.
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Good meeting. Thank you.
Take care.